Hi, I'm Jazz. I'm from the client services team here at Monday.com. It looks like you've downloaded our project management self-serve solution, so I'm here to just give you a lay of the land so you can hit the ground running. Before we go in too far, though, it's important to simplify our view so that we have an overall picture of what we're looking at. To do that, I'll hit the eyeball and just get rid of all the columns that I can see on the template, and that way I can condense what I'm looking at here. So I see that this is in three groups: the planning phase, the execution phase, and the launch phase. As a project manager, the first thing you want to do is update these tasks with specific tasks that you will actually be implementing for this project. Once you've customized your tasks, then you're ready to start inputting data about them. So that's a good time to come and unhide some of these columns. I'd recommend maybe doing them one at a time as you get used to the lay of the land here. You can do a couple of them if you're feeling it. So I'll click order here. And in this case, for the sake of the demo, I will add a couple of people in here. Who's responsible for that one? I don't do this one. And then we'll give these two also. Great. So you can continue to do that with the remaining columns, explore them and see if they're useful to you. A couple to point out are the dependency columns, especially related to projects. So if you use this one, you can just tie which tasks are dependent on others in order to progress within your project. All right, let's look at what some of this looks like once we're not in the table view. One of the great views for project management is the gap view. So if I click here, I'll see that this is exactly correlated to my timeline column, and these arrows are indicative of my dependencies. So you can see even from this visual, if I move out task 2, I know that task 3 is dependent upon it, and so that should shift out as well. Perfect. As well as any other things that were connected to it. We've also got the baseline up here to point out. So at the beginning of your project, maybe at a milestone point of your project, just clicking the baseline and getting it set up. If we add a new snapshot, it will add 2 columns to your board that will serve as a sort of, I call it like a little ghost. And so let's pause this while it loads. Okay. So you can see the little shadow above. And the reason I point this out is because if your project shifts after you've selected your baseline, let's say this got pushed out a few days, my little ghost shape will stay in place. So you have that visual right there on your board for what your expected timeline was at the time of the baseline versus what ended up happening as your project actually played. Tasks assigned to me is another cool view. As you can see, it only has one filter in place. If I click in, I can see what that is. That's where the owner column is me dynamic. Now, what's neat about this is it doesn't matter who's logged in. Whoever's logged in, when you click on tasks assigned to me, it will only show up with things that you're in the people column for. So if you'll remember, I did assign a colleague to a couple of other things, but he doesn't show up in my task view. If I do add myself to another task, now I should see 2 tasks in my view. Perfect. All right. Let's take a look at one of my favorite views. It's one of the newer features we have is the project dashboard view. Here, I can see a plan of what's going on in terms of steps. I can see the overall progress of my project, and I have access to resource management down here as well. Now that I've been assigned to a couple of items as well as a colleague of mine, we can see what our workloads will be based on the timelines of the items assigned to us, as well as the numbers column that demonstrated the amount of effort each of those tasks would take. So just to flip back to that very quickly and show you what's at play here. The resource allocation widget is taking the owner column in conjunction with the timeline column, in conjunction with this planned effort column to say, Jazz is supposed to be responsible for 22 hours over this time frame. What if you've built out multiple projects and you need to report on them at a higher level to see what the overall progress of those projects are? Well, in that case, you want to go from a dashboard view to a standalone dashboard. We've got that in here in the template. So if I come over here to the all projects, we'll be able to see that in this case, there are 2 boards being reported on in this dashboard. If I click here, I can find out exactly what those boards are: Project Alpha and Project Beta. Perfect. So from there, I can see the overall progress in this widget. And again, that resource management widget down here, with the difference being that this one is accounting for Project Alpha and Beta. So realistically, I could be assigned to multiple projects and you would have an overall look at mine and my capacity rate from this view. All right. If you ask me, you're ready to get started. If you're looking for some action steps for what to do right after you end this video, I would advise starting with your groups. So if we open this up, you'll see that we've got these 3 groups on the board, but perhaps you want to call them something different. Maybe you want to give them a different color. Just by clicking into here, you get access to that full customization as with everything else in this collection. So you can change them here. You can also add new groups if you need to by just clicking the triangle next to any group and selecting add group. You can also do so from the top of this board. So in this new task, if you hit the triangle instead, you can get a new group of tasks, which is what these are here. The last thing to show you, and let's delete that duplicate now that it's been created. Great. The last thing to show you is how to templatize this board. So once you have created a project that looks exactly like you want your projects to run, you can templatize it by going to the 3 dots on the upper right, coming down to more actions and choosing the magic wand. Save it as a template. From here, you'll see that magic wand ports over to your board. You'll also be able to see it in your workspace settings over here, that this board is templatized. Now, what does that mean? That means you can go to add, choose from templates, and you'll find it in your dedicated template folder at the top of the template center. Here we are, Project Alpha. That means this exact board as is, if I click use, it's going to be populated into this workspace. You can also grab this template via automation. So I'll briefly show you that to get you started. I'll come here to automate. And the automation I am looking for in the automation center has new board in it. That's the quickest way for me to find it. And I can go here when a status changes to something, create a new board and notify someone. So from there, let's say I say my status changes to done. I would like a new board to be created. Now, instead of just creating a new board from scratch, the system knows that you have custom account templates and will point you in that direction. So I can say, yes, I would like Project Alpha to be created every time I say approved or done or ready to start. You can also customize the name of that board. It doesn't have to be called new board. It can be whatever that item name is called. So if Project Alpha is what got approved, that'll be the name of the board when it comes out. Last step here is what workspace do you want it to go into? And if there's a dedicated folder within that workspace, you can specify that here as well. All right, I think that's it. Go ahead and get started. Let us know if you have any questions at support@monday.com. When you are ready to take your boards to the next level, just come on back here to the PM Learning Center. Here we've got a few more guides set up for you, links to articles and helpful resources, in addition to videos. And for those looking to get an overall picture of how to Monday, the philosophies of Monday.com, you can use the Want to Learn More section down here. As always, if you do have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to support@monday.com.